this video, we will cover linear equation word problems. So we want to try to understand what all the pieces of the equation that we have really mean. So we're going to use some word problem examples to see if we can understand all the components of it and what they mean. So we're going to put this into the form y equals mx plus b. So let's just write this up here. Y equals mx plus b. And let's just read our verbal description. Says, at the fair, Bob draws caricatures. He pays the fair $30 for space to set up a table and $2 for each drawing he sells. So just so we understand what this means, Bob goes to a fair, he rents a space, and he has to pay $30 just for that space. That's a flat fee. And then every time he sells a drawing, and maybe he sells it for $20 or $30, it doesn't tell us, but for each drawing that he sells, he has to give the fair $2 back. So his fee that he has to pay the fair is going to be dependent upon how many drawings he actually sells that day. So the instructions here say, write and graph an equation to represent the total amount of money Bob pays the fair in order to sell his caricatures. Let x equal the number of caricatures he sells. Okay, so over here, this is where this box is going to help us set up our equation. All right, so the first thing we need to do is define our variables y and x. Well, lucky for us, it tells us what x is. So that's the number of caricatures that Bob sells. All right, so that's the number of caricatures that Bob sells. The y is going to be the total amount of money Bob pays the fair. Usually, your x and y are given in your problem. The total amount, not going to write it all out, of money that Bob pays the fair. Okay, and usually y is a total. That's really a key word for y, usually a total of something. Okay. Now we want to write our equation. So let's just review y equals mx plus b and what all of these things mean. So we'll just jot this down here because we have some space. The m, that's our rate of change, right? We talked about it being the slope. It's also our rate of change. So whatever's changing. And the b, that is our starting point. We also like to say it's our initial fee or our flat fee, right? Wherever we're starting. So in this case, I can see that he has to pay the fair $30, no matter what, whether he sells 0 caricatures or 100 caricatures. So that's his starting point or his flat fee. His bill is always going to be $30. And then we're going to add on however many caricatures he sells. So in order to write this equation, our b is going to be $30. So we're going to put this here at the end. That's our b. Now our rate of change, well, that's $2. Because for every drawing he sells, he has to pay $2. So the equation for this verbal description is y equals 2x plus 30, where $30 is this flat fee that he has to pay no matter what. That's his starting point. His bill is always going to start at $30. Then this is the number of caricatures he sells. So for every caricature he sells, he has to pay $2. So that's our rate of change. Then we have our Y, that's the total amount. When we add all this up, the total amount for his bill that he has to pay the fair in order to sell his caricatures that day. Okay, so now we want to go down here to the next two boxes. We're going to take this equation that we have, and we're going to make a table, a function table of values, so that we can plot those. You can choose any points you want for x. I like to choose 0, 1, and 3. To me, they're pretty easy. And I'm going to go ahead and put 0 in here for x. We did this before when we were studying functions. So I'm going to have 2 times 0 plus 30. So that would be 0 plus 30 is 30. So what this is saying is, if Bob sells 0 caricatures, his bill will be a total of $30. So now let's see if we can replace 1 in there. So we're going to have 2 times 1 plus 30. So that would be 32. So if Bob ends up selling 1 caricature, well, then his final bill from the fair would be $32. And finally, we'll plug into 2 times 2 is 4, plus 30 is 34. And just so we remember, these are really just ordered pairs. That's all a table of values really is. So we have 0, 30, 1, 32, and 2, 34. We have our graph over here, and let's not forget to label it. I did go ahead and put the numbers in. I decided to count by 1s in my x direction, and to count by 5s in my y direction. You can count by anything that would work for you. But we also want to label that. So if we look up here, our y is the total amount of money for his bill to the fair. And the x is the number of caricatures. So we're going to write that in. I'm going to shorten it though. I'm going to put the money for his bill. And this is the number of caricatures. There we go. Okay, now we're going to plot these points. Let's do that in red so we can see it a little better. I have 0, 30s right here. Then I have 1, 32, and 2, 34. Just going to make a nice straight line, which is just what I want. So it's going to look something like that. And there's my line. Now we go down here, we have one more question. It says, Bob sold 24 caricatures at the fair. How much did he owe the fair? So we want to go ahead and take our equation that we wrote, which is right here, y equals 2x plus 30. And we'll jot that down, y equals 2x plus 30. Since x is the number of caricatures that he made, and we know that that in this case is 24, I'm going to plug in 24 for x. So y equals 2 times 24 plus 30. So this is going to give me 48 plus 30, which is going to give me a total of 78. So the answer is $78. Bob had to pay the fair in order to sell 24 caricatures. On the back of this page, there's another problem about Walter getting a new job as a ski instructor. So I'd like you to flip the paper over and try to do that one on your own. See how you can do, and then pause the video while you do that. And then when you come back to the video, we'll check and see how you did. All right, welcome back. So let me read this to you. It says Walter gets a new job as a ski instructor. For each shift he works, he is paid a $35 flat fee, plus $20 for each ski lesson he gives during that shift. Write and graph a linear equation to represent the total amount of money Walter will earn during one shift for X number of ski lessons. So you can see right away that they define X for us as the number of lessons. So that's what we have here for X is the number of lessons. And my Y, well, that's the answer, right? So that's usually the total. So that is going to be the total money that Walter earned at his new job. I went ahead and I wrote the equation because I know that 35 is my flat fee. Therefore, that's B, and that belongs here at the end of my equation. And 20, well, that's my rate of change because for every lesson he gives, he's going to earn $20. Therefore, that's my rate of change, or my M, and that's the number that gets multiplied to the X. So this is the equation that you should have. When we come down here, we made a table of values. We went ahead and plugged in 0, 1, and 2 into the equation 20x plus 35. And these are the points that we got: 0, 35, 1, 55, and 2, 75. If you chose different points, that's fine, but you should still get a line that looks similar to this. I went ahead and I numbered these by ones, and I numbered these by 15s because they got kind of big. So, and then if we want to label that, our X is our number of lessons. So that's important. And our Y, well, that's our total money that he's going to earn for the day. Now, when we come down here, hopefully you understood that 7, that's the number of ski lessons, and that's our X. So we would plug that in for our X. So we're going to have Y equals 20 times 7 plus 35, which will give me an answer of $175. So if Walter worked and gave 7 ski lessons, he would earn $175.